All right, what is going on here? Let me switch my microphone. Let me get the right one. Oh, I don't have my. Um, I don't have my mic plugged in. Let me try and plug it in real quick. Because I'll make sure you can hear me, even though this is going to be an abbreviated session. So the purpose of Monday Funday, while I wait for the mic to connect, is to spend just a few minutes with whoever wants to watch as I kind of set up my week. Talk about the week ahead, what we need to know in the church world when it comes to technology, running people, and I might have to restart the stream. I hope I don't. Because what I have is I have my mic here that runs into a soundboard that runs into a dock that then runs into my laptop, and I didn't have the dock plugged in when I started this. So let's see. I don't think I can pull up. I don't think I can pull up the mic midstream. I think I gotta stop the stream. And then so you might just have to deal with a terrible mic here, because I don't think I can plug this mic directly into my laptop. Unless I try this. Let me try this. Maybe if I do that. Nope. Crazy. Well, that's one negative of Ecamm, I guess. I can't add a mic in the middle of a stream. That kind of sucks. So we're just gonna get into it then. Don't need this. So I'm gonna go through some of my email here. I hope you can hear me okay. The one person that's watching, I appreciate you. I hope you take something out of this. Palm Sunday. Hope your Palm Sunday was good. Mine was pretty chill. And I did come down with something. I think I ate something. I won't tell you where I like the restaurant, and it's a national restaurant. But I'm afraid that I got something. So I'm just going to go through my email here. You're not going to see it, but I'm going to talk you through kind of what's on my plate, and then maybe what should be on your plate. We got some graphic requests. We don't do a lot of graphics. We really just have one graphic client. That's kind of a remainder. That's a good client of ours. And I said, all right, we'll keep doing it for you. But most people, we don't do graphics, like just straight up sermon series. You should... sermon series graphics is something that I don't really care for. This is an unpopular opinion among pastors, but it's so true. No one cares about the sermon series except for pastor, maybe some elders, and one or two people in the church. People do not go, the typical person does not go to a church because a sermon series was something they wanted to listen to or watch. Like, one of the big problems I have about sermon series is it commoditizes the church. By that I mean it says we're not worth paying attention to, and therefore probably Jesus isn't worth paying attention to, unless we're talking about something that you might want to listen to. And if they come to church because of a sermon series, they will probably not stay when the sermon series is done. Why? Because it's a commodity. I will take a pill as long as I'm having an issue, and as long as the issue passes, like an antibiotic, it's done. I took the full round, I'm out. So sermon series is not something we promote as a primary driver, because I think this is what causes a lot of church churn, or just a transfer of church members, is because I go to this church because they're talking about something I care about here, but now they're not talking about that. Either they're talking about something I don't care about, or perhaps even worse, They're talking about something I'm not ready to deal with, I'm not ready to confess to, I'm not ready to repent of. And so I'll go to this other church that's talking about something that I am more comfortable with. So I feel like I'm doing something, dare I say, I feel like I'm continuing to worship, but I'm worshiping over here. And it's causing a mass transfer. And that I see this a lot when pastors say, this sermon series really brought a lot of engagement. This sermon series really brought a lot of people. And I look at the numbers and I see it goes down. So how do you capitalize on a sermon series? I think that's going to be very dependent on churches. But your sermon series is not something to advertise. What you're addressing is what you advertise. That's what you promote. Thanks, Rock, for being here. Appreciate you. That's what the problem you're addressing is what you promote. Because, again, your sermon series is like an antibiotic. Like, I'm feeling this, I'm having marriage problems, I can't control my kids, I'm having an identity crisis. So when you talk about that, I will go and listen to that. But then when you turn to the greater things, the gospel message, the next thing, the next spiritual discipline, I didn't really come for that, so I'm out, okay? A sermon series is almost like a diet. It's something that's temporary. And so if I join or become a part of your church or your body or fellowship, and then I feel good, I got what I needed, I'm off the diet. Or worse, I fall off the diet, okay? Whereas, to keep the same food analogy, your church is like the way you preach and teach and equip is like a nutrition plan. It's not something you come and go. It's something you're dedicated to long term. And, some people can do keto for a while, lose a lot of weight, and then they're back on a normal diet. And some people are diabetic and they need that long-term low sugar diet to dumb it down to the most dumbest of things. And so to promote your sermon series as like, this is why you should come to church, you are setting yourself up and you're setting other people up in the same way you set someone up with a diet plan. It is a temporary measure to try to get someone engaged with you. So the question is, how do you go beyond the sermon series to promote? Number one, you look at what the issue is dealing with, the issue you want to deal with, and then you connect that to the greater gospel purpose of which your church exists. So it's no longer you're coming to get this one antidote, but you're coming because this is one step in a larger journey to fulfill your purpose, calling, and identity, essentially. And that's where identity politics has met needs the church has not, little c church, because the identity politics say you're suffering in this one area, it's because of a larger identity crisis you're having. And once you find that man-made worldly identity, guess what? Everything is fixed, or at least you have now fingers to point because of this identity. The world is giving people rose-colored glasses and then saying, this is what the world actually looks like. And when you do a sermon series, you're giving people blue-color glasses and you're saying, this is what our church looks like. But once you take those glasses of the sermon series off and you reveal what the actual church looks like, what actual Christianity following Jesus Christ, what the actual way, which, by the way, I think we need to get back to calling Christianity the way. Maybe Christianity can be the religion and following Jesus can be the way. Once you take those rose-colored glasses off and say, okay, now let's get into the rest of the Christianity gospel message, then they're like, no, I came here for the blue glasses. I'm out. And so we cannot just sit here and be like, let's use sermon series to get people into the church. Okay? I drive past one church every week or so, at the minimum every 2 weeks. I drive past one church. I won't call the church out, but I noticed that it's actually it's not a second location, it's the second location. Like, they started in one location, I guess outgrew it, and now they're in a new location. And I always drive past this church, and they always have a big banner of what the current sermon series is. And I've noticed if there's no sermon series, or we're in a time like right now, Palm Sunday, Easter, there's no sermon series, obviously, then it's just a generic Awana banner or You're Welcome Here banner. And I drive past that, and every single time I drive past that church, I see the sermon series and I say, literally to myself, the person who would actually should care about these sermon series that they're talking about, I say, okay, great for them, or so what, or what does that mean? There is nothing for me to engage with when I see a sermon graphic. And so there's nothing I care about that church. Now, however, we've been looking around at local churches, kind of surveying the area. We haven't surveyed the area in a few years. And I drive past the church, I drive past the first location, and I see the first location, it has the church sign, and then it says for sale. We've moved to this new location. That's when I realized, oh, I didn't realize that was the second location. That's cool. It's a growing church. Now I drive past this church and I say, okay, they are obviously a mainstay in the community because they had one location in this community, like direct a couple blocks from my house. Now they're moved a few blocks away, but I know they started in this community. I now have a different view of this church in that this isn't the church that just preaches sermon series, and that's the main crux of everything. But this is a church that actually started in the community, and guess what? They stay in the community. Separate rant. I hate churches that start in one place and they're like, we outgrew our building, let's go somewhere else, and they go to a completely different area of the city. They go to the other side of the tracks, they go on the other side of the loop, or they even go, if you're in Houston, in a completely different suburb. And then they wonder why growth stagnates, and they even start to decline after the second building. Like, we grew so much and now we got the second building. It's because you're ministering into a different community. The community, the people, the neighbors, the several thousand people that are around you are no longer around you. And now you've brought your stuff into a new community with a different demographic of people, specifically like if you're looking like outer suburbs of a large town or even within a town. You're an outsider to these people. And so you've got to rebuild all of that rapport and trust and who you are and what we call branding, reputation. Versus just staying in that community, and that same community that you were serving then says, wow, they must be serving us so well. They've gotten bigger. There's something going on here. Instead of, look, here's another new church that's coming in and tell us what to do. Not okay. Not okay. To me, you do church how you want. This is supposed to be Funday. Which for some people, fun is, hey, let's hear Justin talk about something other than church marketing, which that's kind of what we're here for. So all that to say, we don't do long walk to a short drink of water, too late. We don't do sermon graphics because that's just not our mission. Our mission is to make the church known. And if you make the church known based off of the sermon series you preach, you're basically an author. You're not a pastor. Or I'm not saying you aren't a pastor. I'm saying you're being known as an author. This is my latest book, not this is our church. This is Jesus. Have you met Jesus? Right. So that's just that's a freebie. You can keep that one. Am I totally off on this? You can let me know. What do you think? And I'm not saying sermon series are bad. I'm saying when they're the main promotional tactic of your church, that's a problem. My phone is blowing up. What do we got? It's the Monday before Easter. Let's see. Okay, it's just everyone sending their, hey, it's Monday morning. These bills have been paid and these people want your attention. We are doing some new stuff with Google Analytics I'm pretty excited about. I brought on 3 more team members. Well, I brought on two more team members and one's just a contractor. We're doing some really cool stuff with some analytics. And now we have the pleasure of going through and setting all of our past clients up with this new setup. What this is going to allow us to do, number one, we're gonna be tracking. We've always tracked click-throughs, but we've never tracked where people are clicking through. So we're putting in a combination of heat mapping, which is seeing where people are on the website and where they're spending their time, as well as button tracking. So we always knew, for example, 40% of the people come to the homepage and do nothing and they bounce out. That's like our gold standard. We want to go under 40%. That's the industry standard for like what we call bounce rate. The people that come to your homepage don't do anything and leave. If you can get under 40%, you're golden. So anything below that is just gravy. And so that's one of our first benchmarks we try to hit. But then we started looking at once you get under 40%, how do you further optimize that? Like, you can add videos to your homepage and get people to spend more time on your website. But is there a section of the site that's just worthless? And we couldn't really see that. So now we're implementing button tracking and heat mapping. So we can see where people are on the site, where they're spending their time, as well as which buttons they're pressing. And one of the things that we're finding out is, for example, we did a split test of a church that has an ebook. It's like a how to love ebook. And we had a button that said, plan your visit or learn more about love. Because that's a big thing in this community this church is in, is people feel unloved. People feel like they don't care about them. And one of the things we noticed was we put at the bottom, so we have a primary CTA and a secondary CTA, and then we've got primary, and then we've got a secondary, and then we've got one more at the bottom that's the primary and the secondary. What we did was, in the middle, we put free ebook, How to Love. And we noticed that when people were skimming through the homepage over a few months, where we had the button in the middle of the page, not the primary call to action, in the middle of the page where it said free ebook, more people were clicking on that than the header. So we were like, okay, so do they not? So totally understand, how to love. That's so generic, terrible call to action. We should have known that a year ago. So we change it to ebook, how to love, and this is a very this is a black church, so they're very open to things like that. Like, I see a lot of other Bible Belt churches and other churches that they're like, I'm not going to give you my information. I'm very privacy secure. This community, they're like desperate enough that the community around them, they're hurting enough to where they will download something to try to fix that. They're looking for a church because they know they need something, from what we could tell on our end, and love and affection and relationships seems to be a very big hurt. And so we use that, again, to showcase we understand their needs, but also this is just the beginning. Jesus Christ is the next step. My fan's not turning on now and I'm getting hot. So we put ebook in the secondary call to action, but then in the middle of the page, we kept it free ebook, and free ebook was still getting more clicks. We couldn't do that before. We didn't know how people were clicking through the ebook page. We just knew that if we changed one button to free, more people would click through, but we didn't know which one it was. Now, through that testing and that iterating over the last 4 months, I think we were like, okay, this obviously works, free ebook. Other churches, like I know a church in Texas, we don't say free ebook because people just see that and they think it's another scam. They think it's another church that wants to upsell you in their funnel for some reason. It's stupid, but it works for this community. So all that to say, I brought on another web designer, and then because we're doing a lot more updates like that, and then also conversion ad, or actually an ad specialist that also handles our conversion, that's also handling our conversion, as well as another contractor that's doing something specific for a few sites for us to test. So all that to say, we're really going even harder and heavier into analytics. That's fun. We got 2 more churches. We're trying to wrap things up for Easter. There's some work from our contractor I need to get back on. I saw this guy on TikTok, Nick Sharma. I liked what he was saying, so I signed up for his Google newsletter. So that's cool. All right, we got our Bay Area Times. Let's see what's happening in the world of tech. Nothing it looks like I care about. Yeah, usually I'll stop and read if there's like AI stuff or technology stuff. I got some more website content, which is great. Some invoices that got paid. It's great. Renewal for a coaching program. I am now happily paying like $800 a month in coaching, and it's expensive, but it's good. It's in three different coaching programs. One is marketing. The other is marketing, I guess, and the other is health and wellness. So that's the more expensive one. Very excited for that. So let's see. What's in the AI news today? Microsoft debuts Surface tablets, devices, AI for customer service. We are so far away from AI for customer service. Like, customer service is already so bad right now. To think you can replace it with AI is just not going to happen. We are several years. Take it from someone who has, I have more customer service certifications than anything else I have certified. And we are so far away from AI certifications. There was a TikTok I watched about a flight company. I can't remember who it was. It was an airline, and someone asked the chatbot, which was an AI, "Hey, what's your policy on this?" And the AI didn't see anything, so it just made one up. It made up a policy for the company. So this person, with that information, took action, believing this was a policy, and then when she called to get the refund she was promised by the AI chatbot, I don't know if she knew it was an AI chatbot, the company was like, "We don't have this policy." And she was like, "You told me through your web chat on your website this was a policy." And they were like, "Oh, well, that was AI. He didn't know any better." Could you imagine saying that? "Oh, well, that was Joe. He's new here. He didn't know any better." I don't care what Joe told me, okay? He told me this. I operated off of that information. You need to make that right. If one of my sales guys or one of my customer service folk give wrong information, I'm going to do whatever I can within my power, short of having faith larger than a mustard seed to move a mountain. I will figure out how to move that mountain to make it right. And I don't understand how these companies, even these higher up customer service reps who have probably more certification, they should have more certifications than I do, how they can say it's not our fault. Like, sorry, we're not going to give you your, but it was like a bereavement thing. So like they had just lost a family member, and then they're going to be like, we're not going to give you your $500 back. So, so yeah, she took him to court, I think. And they even said like, "Hey, this is AI. It's not our fault." That just makes no sense to me. So no, AI is not going to take over customer service. Please don't use AI chatbots on your website. If you want to experiment with it, that's fine, but don't just set it and forget it. AI is not something you can set and forget right now. Okay. Microsoft Copilot AI, that just, it sounds like it's just going to be another Cortana. No one's going to use it. It's going to fizzle out. Maybe it'll go somewhere because they're with OpenAI, but they're not going to, I don't think they can do anything with Copilot. Microsoft does not have a great message, branding behind this stuff. So when I said it's the new Cortana, no one knew, probably very few people knew what I was talking about, unless you had a Windows phone. Like I did, because we didn't have much money. So yeah, all right. And then we've got some Ministry Watch news. I don't know how I got on this newsletter, but it's not bad. I just kind of look, see. It's just ministry news around. In Touch Ministries launches Charles Stanley Institute. Southern Baptist elect Jeff Yorg to lead executive committee. I don't care about the SBC politics and bureaucracy. So one of the good things about being Baptist is you don't have to care about that stuff, because these guys ultimately, they don't run the church. The Baptist church runs itself. Now they can bend the knee to the SBC or SBTC or BGCT or MBC, whatever convention, but you can just be a Baptist church and just be a Baptist church. You don't have to be a part of a network like the Methodists or the Catholics. Evangelists are divided on social and political issues. What's new? All right. I'm going to go. So that was my personal email. Now I'm going to go into my business email. I did finally get the founder's card, so I'm going to save some money on my Stripe payments and get some automatic upgrades. I'm very excited for that. There's some stuff. The heat mapping I was talking about, we're using Microsoft Clarity. Feel free to set that up for yourself. It was really easy now that we've got Google Tag Manager on every site. Getting Microsoft Clarity plugged in was really cool. And Ministry Designs, love those guys. Every Monday they're sending out new media, and we don't use it, but I like to see what they're doing. They're beautiful designs. I'm really excited for it. I don't know if they're partnering with someone to get those or they hire their own designer team, but this is great. I also signed up for an ebook from Lead Eagle because the guy on TikTok said he's got some way to get like 57 data points on someone who visits your website. And I don't think I want to do that for churches, but I'm interested in it for myself so we can serve people better. A lot of people think like, oh, advertising, data tracking, it's all so they can get our data. What do you think we want to do with that data? Okay, like, yeah, I would like to make money with it, but no one makes money with just data. Use that data to serve people better. And so if I can see that a majority of our people that are coming to our website and are interested are Baptist, I'm not saying that's in the data, I'm just using an example, but a number of the people that come to our website and don't convert, and then we call them up later and be like, hey, are you interested in what we do? And they say, no, not at all. And I can find out why Methodists are not using our services. So either A, I can lean better to serve better Baptists better because I know that's our target audience, or B, I can find where we're missing the gap for Methodists or whoever else, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, and make our services better. Like, there are people that want data to sell you more junk. That's not what we're in the business of. Most Christian organizations, save a handful, are in the service of helping your church reach more people, do better ministry, and save time so you can spend more time with your family. And if data is one of the ways that we can do that, I'm going to do that, okay? There are ideal ways to do things, and then there are sometimes effective ways to do things. And so I don't want to overlook something and be selfish and say, we're better than that, and not serve your church to the utmost of his highest, okay? So, and my utmost too. So I am interested in this. I'm going to keep an eye on it. It's also good to know what what other people are doing with my data, like, and how they're getting my data. I think that's a good thing to know. And if you're a church that, like, I had an argument with someone that was like, I can't believe you put Facebook Pixel on a website. Look, I get it. I really do get it, right? People are like, don't put Facebook. I don't want your church I don't want my church giving my data to Facebook. Like, totally get it. I understand and empathize with that. At the same time, on my end, that data helps me reach more people like you. And if I'm effectively serving you, I want to reach more people like that. Data is one of the ways that I can do that. And if any of our clients are like, hey, we don't want the Facebook Pixel on, we're going to take it off. That's fine. We'll take it off. We won't use it. And this is going to sound corny, but you want to spend more money and not use data to optimize? That's your prerogative. You are ultimately accountable for your stewardship. I will make recommendations as required. But the honest truth is usually that stuff comes out in our discovery and road mapping and proposal steps. So churches like that, we may just turn away and turn them over to someone else because they will be better served by that person. And we only know that from the data. In this case, it's data we collect during discovery and road mapping. So anyways, okay, enough about that data stuff. More client questions. Okay, so now I'm going to be in our team email. This is mostly going to be project stuff. So excited. This one church, we were using text reviews, and they are sending us videos, video testimonials, and they don't even call them testimonials. They call them video stories. I love that. I love that. That's what we need, more stories. So we're going to implement those this morning and then launch the site. Awesome. I love it. Cool. So I had fun. I don't know if you had fun, but I had fun. It's just some things that, when people are watching the Best Known Church Show, they're there to learn how to be better known. I'm going to teach them how to be better known. We're not going to talk about data. We're not going to talk about stuff on the back end. We're not going to talk about tools and technology because you need to know what to do, not what to do it on. Does that make sense? So I'm going to let you go. I am a little under the weather, so I'm probably just going to work a half day today, let the team take everything over. Tomorrow's show, we should have a podcast episode tomorrow, just kind of what to do immediately after Easter, because you got to strike while the iron is hot. Okay, whether you like to admit it or not, when someone submits information to you, the person who calls them back the fastest is usually the person they do business with. And in the same case for churches, if I email 2 churches and one of them gets back to me within 7 minutes and the other one gets back to me the next day, I've already made a decision and I'm going to go with this other church. And I'm not saying this is a competition of churches. I'm saying this is a competition between potentially false teachers, false prophets, wolves in sheep's clothing, and the truth. Okay? So if you're on the side of truth, capital T, and the gospel, you need to do whatever it takes to get people's attention and convert them into someone who's intentional. Okay? You need to take attention and convert it into intention. And to do that, you got to respond as soon as possible. So after Easter, there needs to be some follow-up. We'll talk about that tomorrow. There are plenty of places to look up follow-up techniques and strategies and calendars and what to do when. So we're mainly going to be talking about overall strategy. The last thing I'll leave you with is this, something very interesting. I talked to an ad guy from a big advertising company. And he doesn't do it anymore. He started his own business, and what he's realized is his skills mean jack all, because he was a skill set, meaning he was paid for a skill, but not how to implement and effectively strategize and execute that skill in the right way. And so, again, this is what we teach in the Definitive Church Marketing Method about how to be outrageous, unreasonable, and relentless, is that you cannot take one piece of the puzzle, your website, and expect it to do everything you need for your church. This guy who does graphics and does beautiful work realized, unless you have the messaging to back it up, unless you have the marketing strategy, the remarketing and the brand and the advertising strategy to back up those graphics will only do a piece of the puzzle. And so he thought, I worked for $1 million company, therefore I can take my graphic design skills. What he sells is not graphics, but he uses his graphic skill to market it. He thought he could take his graphic skill set, and put that into his own business and become $1 million business. What he then realized, very wisely in fact, is that he cannot take his graphics and make $1 million, his graphic ability, and market and sell his product to $1 million, because his graphic skill set was just one piece of a puzzle. And all of a sudden it clicked. All the people above him that he hated, this guy doesn't do anything. He just goes into Zoom meetings and then he tells us what to do, and then he checks on us after we've done things. This guy's a waste of energy. He's a waste of $80,000 a year. He now realizes that guy actually did something, because his skill set is worth as much as a pile of lead, wood, and yellow paint and rubber. But it actually takes someone to strategize. How are we going to combine all of these? Actually, his skill set is more just the lead. Someone else had to bring the wood and the yellow paint and the rubber and the metal to make a pencil. His skill set was just one piece of raw material of a greater strategy that took this company up to $1 million. And so you can't just rely on one skill. You can't just rely on one holiday, Easter. You can't just rely on one tactic. You need to have a comprehensive, holistic strategy to take your church from A to where God wants to go you. God wants to grow you. God wants to take you. God wants to send you. He gives you an outrageous vision for a purpose. You need an outrageous strategy to do that. And you need more than just a piece of lead. You need all the pieces of all the raw material to make the pencil. And that's what you got to do even after Easter. So God bless you all. Hope you had fun. Have a great week. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow if I can make sure that we get healthy again. God bless.